The ocean currents. Lightning hitting the earth, intense rains, snow, howling winds, and cloudless drought. These are all climactic phenomena we witness on the planet we inhabit. The shape of the Earth, its orbit, the mountains, the distribution of land and sea, proximity to and distance from the sea, the winds, and the oceanic currents are the main factors behind climactic diversity. One of these, the currents of the oceans, is defined as the movement in a specific direction of a limited mass of water. There is no doubt that Almighty Allah created warm and cold water currents for a purpose. He has surrounded us with much knowledge and wisdom to reflect on. Let us now look at one of these miracles and see the examples it provides. They produce climactic variety. Warm currents transmit heat by traveling from warm regions to cooler ones. Some warm currents consist of water from cold regions, or else cool water from the sea bottom, and despite the water temperature being 15 degrees Celsius, they are still considered as cool currents in warm latitudes. They therefore reduce heat and decrease the oppressive effects of the air. The coasts play a role in desert formation. The reason why coastal deserts appear on the western edges of continents is cool ocean currents. However, this desert type is very different to very dry deserts with high temperature variations because the air is very humid in deserts of this type and temperature variations are unimportant. This makes it possible for a weak grass cover to form and for animals to graze on it. They increase biological diversity. Currents carry food and oxygen in the seas and thus increase the feeding potential and fish diversity. They also increase the number of seabirds and the species thereof that feed on these fish. Spores and various plant seeds are carried by the currents thousands of kilometers to different parts of the world. In the same way, plant seeds that adhere to icebergs are also carried to distant parts in the same way. They provide food for human beings. Almighty Allah manifests His title of Razak through the diversification of economic activity by way of these currents. For example, currents may directly affect cities' revenues. One of two cities on the same latitude may have a harsh climate, while the other has a moderate climate because of warm water currents. This then has an impact on activities such as agriculture and tourism. No rain is seen on the shores of various cities in South America under the influence of cool water currents, but in winter they permit the formation of a grass cover known as loma. And that vegetation cover made the development of animal husbandry possible. In addition, Seabirds living on the islands near these coasts depend on the food chain set up by cold water currents. The natural fertilizer known as guano these birds deposit on the islands is very rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and has been extracted in blocks since the 19th century, representing a significant source of income for the countries around the islands. If ocean currents were to deviate from the delicate equilibrium on Earth, temperature changes in the sea would happen very quickly. Oxygen and salt levels would change, and that would lead to the death of fish and other marine organisms. Climatic abnormalities would appear. Dense fogs and floods caused by severe rain could have lethal results. Climatic obstacles would arise. Temperate region plants could not spread to colder areas, or tropical plants to other regions as much as they do today, and the frontiers that would be established in agricultural regions would mean that human habitats would not be as broad as they are now. As we have seen, warm and cold water currents heat or cool the air to just the right extent. These characteristics expand the possible areas of human habitats on Earth, making it possible to obtain food and increase the variety of other species. It is, of course, impossible for such an order to have come about by chance. This sensitive equilibrium was established by Allah, Lord of the earth and sky.